What's up, people? It's George, and I just saw last night the movie Into the Spider-Verse, and I'm here to give you my first impressions. This is going to be a spoiler-free and spoiler review. I'll let you guys know as soon as the spoiler-free is over, so that way, if you guys haven't seen the movie before, you guys have a chance to go see it, and you can come back, look at my thoughts, and hear them, see what you guys think about them, and if you agree with them, let me know in the comments. If you don't, let me know in the comments, but we're going to get into it. It's because I thought this movie was absolutely fantastic. We've had a spectacular Spider-Man, we've had Spider-Man, but this was the ultimate Spider-Man. This was the best Spider-Man movie I have ever seen by far. Could have worked as a live-action movie, and I think it's because that they focused on story, which I thought was great, and that made it where this could really be translated into any medium and still be a great story. Did it follow a comic to the T? Not exactly. It did. Most of the elements were there, but they did their own little twist on it, and I actually felt that it worked better than what I know the story to be. So, I thought that was really cool. I thought all of the acting from every single one of the characters was done very well. The main bad guy, Kingpin, which was awesome. And then you had Miles, who I thought, held his own as a main character. I thought that was great. And then the would-be mentor in Spider-Man, which I thought was also done very well. And then Spider-Gwen did a great job too. So those characters really were the standout people in this movie. And then you had a couple of other colorful characters to fill it all in. So the movie had its happy moments, parts that would make you laugh, parts that you would just think is just awesome and cool, and then you had these sad moments thrown in there as well. So it really went through a whole range of emotions when you go see this movie, and it didn't feel long enough. I felt that this movie could have been longer. If you guys want to know if there's something at the end credits, definitely stay for the very end credits of this movie. It's because there is something in there that you guys will really dig, especially those of you who are into the Spider-Man stories. So definitely do that. They had a real cool cameo by Stan Lee, which I think is his last one, and I thought that was done, very well, very touching moment. So, definitely there was one of those moments that I kind of choked up a little bit. It's because you see him there, and it's good tribute. So I thought that they did a good job. Overall, I think that this character definitely needs the support. So go to the movies, take your loved ones, go see this weekend. It's good for kids, it's good for adults. Don't be deterred because it's an animated movie. My brother was one of those people that was like, I don't know if I want to see this because it's an animated film. But even him, after I took him to go see the movie, was sold on it. So definitely check this movie out this weekend. All right, that's my thoughts. That's the spoiler-free part of this. If you guys haven't seen this movie yet, get your asses to the theater right now. Go watch it, then come back and hang out with me and see the rest of my thoughts, my in-depth thoughts of this film. So giving you guys a little bit of time, get your asses out of here right now and go see that movie. It's definitely worth the watch. All right. You guys are gone? All right, cool. Glad you guys have gone to see the movie already. Those of you who are here with me, you guys have seen this movie already. You guys know, you guys feel the same way I do, I hope, about this film. If you don't, let me know in the comments what you guys think about this film. Now, to break this up into 3 acts, you have the beginning part of it where I thought they did a great job with showing how an introduction to Spider-Man. We get Spider-Man. We know the story of Spider-Man. We've had, 5 films already of this character. And actually more, I think 6 now. So we know the story of Spider-Man, right? We don't need another origin story. So I like that they didn't do that. I like that they just, he kind of gives you a quick synopsis of all the things that have been happening to him, which I thought was kind of cool. And they translate that with every single one of the Spider-Man that gets shown in this movie. So, I thought that was kind of cool. Did the same kind of intro, real quick synopsis. And what I love about his intro is that they not only tell you his backstory, but they also kind of pay tribute to all of the movies that have come before it. And they show the scenes here and there, which I think will make you guys laugh. I'm not going to tell you what exactly they show. Definitely go see that. If you guys are here, you've already seen it. But you guys know what I'm talking about. It's funny. So, really, really hilarious scenes there. I laughed right out of the gate. So then, real quick, after that, you get introduced to Miles Morales. And unlike Spider-Man, unlike Peter Parker that we've known, Miles at this age is coming into his own as a teenager. He's not a nerd. He's not socially awkward. He's just, you know, a teenager growing up in New York, and you know, and he's liking some girls. You know, he's kind of cool in some ways, and I thought that was kind of cool. And he has a love for art, which I thought was kind of dope too. So I like that he's quite a bit different than what we're used to with Peter, right? And I love the interaction between him and his father. His father has this kind of smothering love for his son, you know. And I thought that was cool. I love the interaction between them, especially as a dad. You know, I could really understand where that was coming from, and I thought it made me laugh. I love that. You're told a little bit about his uncle by his father, so you know his uncle is kind of a shady kind of character, but he has a love for his nephew, and the two of them have this, you know, he looks up to and idolizes his uncle, and his uncle really loves his nephew. So there's this really cool interaction between the two of them. They both have a love for art and graffiti, and they go into the subway tunnels and they tat up the walls, which I thought the interaction there was really cool. It's because in the comics, you're not really shown all of this that well. You know, Prowler doesn't come off that way. And, you know, you guys know now that his uncle is the Prowler. So, you know, I like that they give you more interaction between Miles and his uncle, which solidifies that bond that they have, which then will strengthen what comes later. Right, so I thought that's done very nicely. So while he's doing that, he gets bit by this spider. Right, there's this spider that comes into the room, and it's got this really techno feel to the spider. Bites Miles. He sleeps it all off, and he wakes up the next morning, and now he has these awkward things happening to him. He's a little bit taller. He doesn't fit in his clothes. You know, he's nervous about what's the changes that's happening. He thinks it's puberty, which I think is hilarious. And then he runs into Gwen Stacy, who at first I didn't know if this was going to be Spider-Gwen or not, because I didn't quite understand how they were going to throw her in there just like that, right? You know, so I thought maybe it was just the Gwen that came from this Earth. So she realizes, and you can tell right off the bat, and that's when I'm like, okay, maybe this is the Spider-Gwen. She realizes that he's having some changes. Because of that leads him to go back to the sewers and try to figure out what's going down with this whole spider bite. And then he gets the spider senses, and he's introduced to Spider-Man. But then Spider-Man sees Miles, realizes that they have the same type of feelings or same types of abilities, and Spider-Man has this big brother need about it. You know, he's like, man, I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you how to use your abilities. So I thought this is cool, you know, and I was like, man, this is how the movie starts. This is going to be great. You know, immediately after all that, there's a big battle that happens. Spider-Man gets killed, just like that. You know, and then I was like, whoa, you know, how, you know, the trailer shows Spider-Man, you know, teaching him, how is this going to play out? You know, I was like, what's going on? You know, I know in the comics Spider-Man does die, but it doesn't really happen like this. Miles is conflicted. You don't know what to do. He's scared. You know, so these are really real emotions that you think that somebody would have, right? So I like that they showed that. He goes to Peter's tombstone to try to talk it out and try to figure out how he's going to do this. And then he runs into another Peter Parker. So this is the Peter Parker from another Earth. And I really like this Peter. It's because this is a Peter Parker that has been Spider-Man, is kind of tired of being Spider-Man, has had some really bad issues that has happened to him. He lost Mary Jane. You know, he's down and out. He's feeling depressed and sorry for himself, which is totally not what we have ever seen Peter Parker be. You know, he's always this hero, and now we're looking at this guy that is just like, I'm done with being a hero. And I thought that was a really good twist to the character, you know, and it brought, you know, a new life into him. You know, it's because I was like, man, I could relate to that kind of too, you know. So Miles begs him to teach him. Peter don't want to. He don't even want kids, you know. But they're thrown in together. It's because Miles knows what's going down with all of this, these issues that are happening, and Peter needs to get back home. So they take and they go to the facility where Kingpin is getting this made, and they try to get the information they need to create another device to fix this issue. In the process, they run into another Doc Ock. It's a female Doc Ock in this one, who I thought was okay. I kind of would have preferred the regular Doc Ock. I don't really care for her that much, but you know, it was all right. She doesn't really like hurt or destroy anything or mess the movie up. I think she's fine. You know, I prefer the regular Doc Ock in my opinion. They screw stuff up. they try to get out of there, and then they're introduced to Spider-Gwen, who I love. Spider-Gwen. Spider-Gwen was done really well. She's very comfortable with herself, knows her abilities, and she kind of saves this down and out Peter and Miles, right? So that was kind of cool, and I like the attraction that Miles has to her, you know. So I thought that was kind of done pretty well also. So real cool. She saves them, and they get away with with what they need to create this device. So he goes to Aunt May's house, and then Aunt May is this total different Aunt May. So she's kind of like an Alfred, which is a little bit different. She has this thing going on where she has, you know, a spider layer like Batman, which was you know, kind of different. You know, I didn't really expect that, and cool at the same time, but different. So, you know, you go down there and then you're introduced to the other spider people, who I felt that they were cool, and I liked that they filled in the other characters. They weren't very integral to the story, so, you know, they just were other characters to have in there to add a little more humor, and I thought that was done okay. So again, doesn't hurt or break anything in the film. I just think that they're just extras, that they need to save the Earth, but you know, all these people, all these spider people, they belong to a different Earth. They need to get home. So Miles takes it upon himself that he's going to do this and he's going to save everybody. But everybody has doubts in him. It's because he don't know how to use abilities yet, which, you know, that makes sense. So there's you know, kind of a conflict there between all of them. Miles gets upset that nobody believes in him, and he goes looking for his uncle to try to get a little bit of clarity, right? And then that's when he's introduced to his uncle being the Prowler, and there's this shocking moment there, you know, especially for people who haven't seen the movie or haven't seen it or know the story. So, you know, all of us that have read the comic, we know that he's the Prowler, so we're kind of expecting this to happen at some point, you know. But here we have this introduction where, you know, he's the Prowler, and Miles is now, I got to stop this guy, but he's the uncle that I love, you know. And it's a very Darth Vader Luke moment at that point, you know, kind of Empire Strikes Back there. So I was like, man, that's pretty cool. Miles gets away again, but in the process leads the bad guys back to Aunt May's house. There's a huge battle that happens, you know, and then Prowler catches Miles, and Kingpin orders Prowler to kill Miles. But I love that he took and he said, no, man, this is his nephew. And he's like, man, you know, I'm a bad guy, but I'm not that kind of bad guy, you know. So since he won't do it, Kingpin kills Prowler, and Miles is, you know, there's this very sad moment where he dies in Miles' arms, you know, and you could tell, man, that he lost somebody close to him, and it hurts, you know. You get that feeling, and that's what I'm saying, that they really go through a full range of emotions in this movie. His father chases after him as a cop, you know, and then finally catches up to him, seeing Spider-Man standing over his brother dead, and his father now has this anger towards Spider-Man. You know, it's like, man, we need to put out an APB on him. Spider-Man's a menace. You know, so imagine that. Now not only is he lost his uncle, he lost his mentor at the beginning. He's not really being trained that well by the has-been Spider-Man, but now his dad thinks he's the bad guy. There's a lot going on here. It's an amazing origin story. So, you know, that's done extremely well. You know, so now his dad's chasing after him. Miles takes and, you know, gets it together and gets his abilities. Becomes all of a sudden, like in a snap, learns how to use his abilities, makes his suit, does all that. That's about the only thing that I think that was done a little bit quickly. I think they could have, you know, staved that off a little bit for maybe the next film. You know, because I think this absolutely deserves a trilogy of movies. You know, maybe only show like some of his abilities and then make him come into his own a little bit more in part 2. But, you know, they show him like really coming to his own here. He makes a really badass looking suit, which I think is the best looking Spider-Man suit. I think is awesome. And then he goes to go save the rest of the Spider-Man and everything. So now there's a big battle at the end, you know, between, you know, Kingpin starting the machine up and now opening other Earths. And he's doing this to try to save or try to bring back his wife and kid that he lost previously in life, which I think that brings a humanizing moment to Kingpin in this movie, which, you know, it's good. You know, we don't need a straight up bad guy. We need reasons for a bad guy. You know, not people are bad by circumstance, right? But Kingpin is ultimately makes the wrong choices in life, and that's why the shit happens to him. So, you know, you feel bad for him, but you can't really feel that bad for him. So Miles beats him, and then that's when his dad realizes that Miles is a good guy, and that Spider-Man is a good guy, and he tells him, you know, thank you for the help and everything, Dad, and Miles gives him this hug, and I love the I love you at the end. I thought that was done good. So that's kind of where the movie ends. You know, he's become Spider-Man at this point, and they show at the very end where you hear Spider-Gwen calling out to him through the Spider-Verse. So I'm hoping that leads into a second part. Now, there's a very end cutscene, you know, that mentioned earlier in the spoiler free, but in the cutscene we get to see Spider-Man 2099, which I thought was awesome. You know, I was like, okay, cool. So that means that there may be a second part to this flick, you know, and bring us more Spider-Verse characters. You know, and Spider-Man 2099 is awesome. I really like how he jumped back into like the 1980s cartoon of Spider-Man, and he's like, I'm trying to save you, and he's like, and the other Spider-Man don't know what to do with it. That was hilarious. That whole end cutscene I thought was done really cool, and very cool fan service. Now, I think that the art style in this was done extremely well. There was some kind of like weird frame rate issue thing that I saw, but it's done very, very stylized, very well. I thought it was great. Very colorful movie. So I'm glad that they did it in animation, but I thought this could have worked as a live-action flick, in my opinion. I did see this movie in 3D, which I thought was trash. Do not see this in 3D, at least not real 3D. Go see this in like IMAX 3D if you're going to see it. This to me was the worst 3D movie I've ever seen. And I had issues with my glasses. It was kind of hurting my eyes. So that kind of like messed it up for me. But I will go see this movie again. I think that this movie, you definitely have to see this twice, just because I think there's a lot of things that I missed. So you definitely should go see this movie. So that's my thoughts on Into the Spider-Verse. I'm interested to hear what you guys think of this flick. You know, did you enjoy it? Please let me know in the comments what you guys thought of this movie. You know, and if you would go see it more than once. I can't wait for this movie to come out on Blu-ray, because I got to see this thing again. I mean, and I'm going to go see it in the theaters. I'm going to go see it at least 2 more times in the theaters. It definitely deserves that kind of love. So go check this movie out if you haven't seen it. And those of you guys who did see it, let me know in the comments what you guys think. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here, hit subscribe. Ding that bell to become part of the notification squad, and catch all of our videos at mcecentral.com, as well as a wealth of information on collecting, movies, video games, and all kinds of other geek stuff. It's because that's what we like talking about. If you guys have not seen the Miles Morales sideshow piece, check that out. I picked it up. The thing is dope. You know, I'm so happy I got that now, especially after seeing this movie. So go check that out also. We're going to be coming back at you with more videos just like this, so stay tuned for all of that. Until next time, guys, keep it marvelous.